Founded in 1991 by patients, the FSHD Society is the largest grassroots network of FSHD patients, their families, and research activists. The FSHD Society offers a community of support, news, and information for the millions of people affected by FSHD worldwide. This is FSHD Society Radio. Welcome all to the FSHD Society Radio Show. Thank you for being here. A special thank you as well to our sponsors, Perkin-Elmer and Fulcrum. And we also had a great walk and roll event back in September. Want to quick mention that sponsor as well was Optum, helping us out during that event. And so glad that you're all here to join us yet for another month's episode where we kind of go into what we call the, traditional episode, the long form, as some might call it. But this is really about profile spotlights on our FSHD community. And one of those great guests we've had in the past is coming back. And she is with us again in this episode. Call it maybe a catch up on how things have been going, but it's been such a number of years that might be a little overwhelming for some. But I trust that this will be an amazing episode for all of you as we bring in Kristin Duquette. How are you doing, Kristin? Good to see you. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. Thank you so much for having me. I'm good. It's Friday. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing phenomenal. It's always doesn't matter what kind of day I'm having when I get to pause and put together one of these episodes and get a chance to talk to whomever it may be. But in this case, I was extra excited, to be honest with you. No offense to past guests. But it's always great to talk to fellow FSHD people that have the disease and how they're coping. But also that we had a good conversation on the past episode, and those that don't recall or maybe are new to the program, we're talking. This was like, I think we were talking before we hit record. It was like something maybe like 2017, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
The episode is episode 16, and then we talked about you being an Olympian, a swimmer. So are you still getting in the pool? Are you still doing that? Are you coaching in any of that realm?
So, thanks for bringing that up. It was a great chapter of my life. I never made it to a Paralympic team. I had to be, I know how this is going to sound, but for elite athletes, they'll understand, but I had to be top 10 in the world to make the London 2012 team for Team USA, and I was 13th at the time. I know. So crushing. But I retired competing in 2013, and I've just been swimming since. I love the water. As we know, water is so great for our condition. So I've been swimming since. I think actually the longest time I've been out of the water was the winter of 2020 when COVID hit and when all the pools were shut down. So I think I was out of the water for about 6 months on how to adapt and things like that. And I was a bit worried if I was going to lose strength or mobility. But during that time, I just really relied on my weights, my cycling, my armbands, and a bunch of other, any and everything I could try to do during that time. And I got back into swimming when pools opened up, and it was really not that bad getting back. And I still swim a decent amount of yardage. I think the most I've done of recent is 900 yards, sometimes with, sometimes without flippers, which is really helpful. But yeah, it's a great stress reliever and highly recommend it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I never swam competitively at all, but I know that would be extremely difficult, period, to swim competitively. Must take a ton of energy, calories, etc., that you're burning just to compete at that level. And then but when you make the statement about, water's kind of our friend, I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, there's a gym near me here that has like a current pool and those kinds of things. I love that.
Yeah.
To get in that water, you get a little bit more of that support being in the water. It's just, it's very therapeutic for sure.
Yeah.
It is a great training mechanism. Those that can find it, use it to their advantage, highly recommend it. Yes, for sure.
Yep.
No. So I hope I didn't bring up a sore subject with that, because I mean, you're 13, and only the top 12 go. I'm like, come on, they couldn't bend the rules. Come on. I mean, you got to go by, like, I'm sure you're a great teammate, etc. Isn't that has to attest to something? That's
I think I remember reading the Paralympic trials, logistics and documentation on how they're going to pick people. And I swear to God, at one point there was a line in there, like, it does not matter how nice you are or what your personality is. If you do not have the time, like, you're not going to make it, which obviously makes sense. I mean, you want to pick the best of the best. The purpose is to pick the best people that are most likely going to medal. And it is what it is, but great experiences. I mean, I could swim backstroke for such a long time because it's so actually really easy on our shoulders compared to freestyle. So I just I could just turn my brain off and go, and it's really relaxing. But no coach is yelling at me either to get in the pool or like stop or keep going. But I usually now swim once a week, sometimes twice if I feel ambitious, but it's usually anywhere between at least 45 minutes and probably an hour and 15, hour and a half I can go. So
wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I just think it's floating.
Yeah.
It's nothing like I used to do. So.
Now, besides that part of your life, you've been extremely involved, politically as well as disability rights advocate. Can you touch? I mean, it would take us too long for me to go through all the great things you've been involved with on a professional level. That also seems to be a passion of yours as well. So maybe kind of walk us into where you are now and what you're doing, professionally and in your advocate life.
Absolutely. So I right now I work inside FEMA. I work inside anti-terrorism grants to prevent and mitigate terrorist attacks in transit systems.
Okay.
I saw your vision.
Wow, that's insane. Like, and you just said it like, well, I just kind of do this. I like just write some grants, stop terrorist attacks. No. Like, you know what I did before this, Kristin? I went grocery shopping. That's
I did that on my lunch break today. Yeah.
But you are just typing this up, and just going, I'm just going to do this real quick. Yeah, I need to stop this bomb. So then when's the next action movie coming out? Because that sounds like a Bruce Willis Die Hard thing.
That would be really cool. I do think if my life was a movie, it would be a rom-com or a very dark comedy. So, no, I do a lot of, I'm an analyst, currently. I've been at FEMA since 2017. So 5 years of recent, FEMA supported me and my goals and sponsored me to go and get my master's at the Naval Postgraduate School out in Monterey, California, for the Center for Homeland Defense and Security. So I graduated from there of March of this year, and I started. Thank you. And I started that in September of 2020. It was absolutely no breaks. So, semester 1 or quarter 1 started on Monday, quarter 2 started on Tuesday. So I have been straight in school and working since March of this year. So I've also have been getting used to not feeling like I'm in a blender, even though I still feel like I am for other reasons. Uh, so I've been doing that. I am transitioning in about 2 weeks to FEMA's head policy office, and we'll be working on some interagency and potentially some White House national security issues. So I'm really looking forward to that. Um, I really love that, I've been so open over the years of not pigeonholing myself and thinking that disability rights or accessibility needs to be my main job.
Mhm.
I think that's always going to be a hat that anyone that's disabled is going to bring to any job. And I think that's quite frankly a little bit better. Maybe not a little bit better, but it serves a really great function and purpose compared to, well, here is all these accessibility or disability rights organizations, or, go to that office. So I really like that type of um, integration, and I think that's needed with all groups, all different types of minority groups. Um, yeah, before I came onto FEMA, I worked inside the Obama administration. I was the confidential assistant to the chief of staff for the National Endowment for the Arts. So it was anywhere with working with, high profile artists and people, logistics and planning, sometimes different White House events too. Uh, that position, um, I was volunteering in 2015 and 2016 for the Hillary Clinton campaign, and like 80% of this country thought that she was going to get into office. So
Mhm.
I thought I wasn't going to be a shoo-in, but I thought I would potentially have a shot at working inside that administration too. And once Trump came into office, the day after the election, I learned that my job was getting rolled over into the Trump administration. So sometimes different administrations can do that with different jobs. So I stayed on inside the Trump administration maybe for about 2 to 3 months before I was able to move on to FEMA. And frankly, I only moved to FEMA because it was a really great offer I couldn't turn down. And at that time, I didn't have very much high hopes for FEMA. I wasn't even really thinking about security. Um, but, sometimes you need to be realistic as to what is going to pay my bills, what is going to be a bit stable, and just catch my breath for a little bit.
Mhm.
And I love how I love how wrong I was at that time of what I thought working for FEMA would be in the culture, in the people. Um, so I would not have stayed and moved on and have grown within this agency if I really didn't believe in the mission and the people and in the work that we do to really help people before, during, and after any types of man-made or natural disasters. And I really find public service, especially in the federal government, completely fulfilling. And so before I worked for Obama, I did work a little bit for the FSH Society. I think that was in 2014 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, before that, I was doing different political campaigns and working at the Connecticut State Legislature where I grew up. Um, and I graduated my undergrad in 2013. I majored in human rights at the time, and so my thesis was whether disability rights are viewed as human rights in a UN context, specifically the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and, the right to sport within there. And so I kind of dabbled a bit from politics to disability rights and just finding, really cool advocates, whether it was online. But after I graduated from undergrad, there was definitely a time where I felt incredibly let down as to, I did all this work in school. What am I supposed to be doing with my life? What kind of jobs am I supposed to be getting? I really was very aggravated of the transition from academia into professionalism. And there was a time where I lived at my parents' house in Connecticut after I graduated, and I felt like such a complete failure as to like, okay, they told me I'm gonna do great things in the world, and why am I back at my mom and dad's house? And I'm, 23, 24, trying to find a job. So I say that because I think it's important to know, and we as a culture see people's highlights and accomplishments, but there's definitely lows too, and I don't think it's culturally acceptable or really talked about as much as, no, there's always some type of low or lows that people go through, no matter what you see online.
Right. I think social media doesn't help there. You just see all the highlights, or you see what the end result is in some cases. And when you're an athlete, still an athletic athlete, in my opinion, doing all the swimming you do still, but okay, a competitive athlete, I think, and if it's the competition and happening in the pool and people come to watch that, or they're being around that, that's what they're seeing is more or less the finished result to some degree. They're not seeing all the work and things that went into it. I think it's similar in other aspects of our life where if you are a success in business, or you get that job that you were pushing hard for, working hard for, then people see then the title now you have or the position you currently hold, but they didn't see behind the curtain and watch the whole process of the ups and the downs and the mental struggles and the time by yourself where you're doubting yourself, yet you push on anyway. Those courageous moments where maybe you don't feel so courageous, and people, I think, need to redefine what courage really means. It's when it's something difficult that you don't want to do, but you do it anyway. And to me, that's kind of the whole purpose, I think, of why you're on, is that it helps describe to us that, okay, at 24 years old, you were at that moment expecting some type of epiphany moment, maybe of I've arrived, right? I've done this. Here I am. And now looking back, and I'll say, because you mentioned before we started to record, you're now currently 31, right? Years old. So fast forward those amount of years, and what would you tell yourself now? What would you tell the 24-year-old self, your 24-year-old self now being 31, in those dark moments of doubt?
I would say I love your ambition and I love your enthusiasm. And your life and what you will do or won't do, what you think will happen or won't happen, is going to be so much more grander than what your mind can only imagine at that point.
Wow.
And I still try to think that way. Because I think, obviously, the older you get, I think it's so easy, especially in bureaucratic federal government, to get cynical of whether it's a process or why am I filling this out or paperwork or whatever. And I think the older you do get, it's really easy to also think about, why do these really grand, awful things like a pandemic happen to really good people, or just very philosophical things. So I try to remind myself, try to stay grounded in some sort of way as to what brings me joy, what makes me feel like a kid with a bunch of wonder, but also just have that balance of being realistic and mindful of the people that are in my life, whether that's in a professional way or personal way, which I think COVID was really great at doing for everyone because we had to be so isolated. But swimming is one of the things that I can just switch it off for a bit and escape. Or maybe it's not escape is the right word, but recharge. So it's great. It's great for seriously everything.
Yeah. Yeah. To have that distraction, to have that moment where that's still you, you're still the swimmer, you're still the athlete. That part of your life continues. Doesn't matter what competitive level it's at.
Yeah.
You mentioned that about COVID, the difficult time. You mentioned you had a big transition, right? I think our pre-conversation, you used the term, they dragged you. Your parents dragged you out of DC. Talk about those moments, right? When we're all going through, the COVID shutdown, lockdown. What was going on during that time for you?
So my birthday is March 6th. And at the time I was going to turn 29, and I invited my parents to come up to my apartment in downtown DC. And I was going to have a bunch of friends over that weekend. So everyone could meet my parents, and my parents could meet my friends. And it was quite literally the last get together before everything shut down. So my parents were there. They stayed maybe a day or two after. I think it was March 9th. My mom said, I don't have a good feeling about this virus. If it gets really bad, please come to what they call the deep woods, because it literally is the deep woods. I think
it's like a scary movie. That sounds like a horror movie.
It's like 30 minutes to a Walmart situation. Like, it's deep North Carolina woods. So she mentioned this to me a week or two before that too. And I was under the impression of, Mom, you watch too much news. This is the United States. Like, we'll be fine. It's in, Washington State. Well, it's like, I'm in DC. I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And so it was really just to appease her. I was like, fine, I'll just pack something for 2 weeks, bring my work laptop, bring my personal laptop. At that time, I did get into the Naval Postgraduate School. So I was also working on my travel to fly out to California. And it was really just to appease my parents. And I remember in North Carolina, since I have a journal and I've kept a journal since I was 7, I remember writing in it and saying, I don't know how long I'll be here for, but maybe it will be a month or 2. And if I could just kind of sum up my whole experience in rural North Carolina, it would be, if anyone has seen Schitt's Creek, without being broke. So.
Oh man. So it was a good time.
I think you have to make the best of it. And, someone like Winston Churchill is kind of people like him, people don't like him. because I went to a war college, I made a closet in the house in North Carolina, my office. So it was like half my closet that you couldn't see, and then behind me directly was like a bookcase. And before I got there, it was just all a bunch of like linens and towels. And I had a meeting with the FEMA administrator at the time, and I was being super serious, and he was like, "Are you okay? Like, what's behind you?" Because I tried to like put a sheet behind me, and it may have looked like a hostage situation. So I was like, never again. And so I made that into like a fake bookshelf to make it look like I had this office. But I say that because in front of me, I am a Post-it note person. I'm very visual. And so I just have all these different Post-it notes. And so one of my Post-it notes on the right side of me was "Never let a good crisis go to waste," from Winston Churchill.
Sorry, could you say that again?
I'm sorry, that was my Apple Watch. So never let a good crisis go to waste. And so I was always thinking like, this sucks, or, you know, whatever. And like, well, what are the opportunities? What can be learned, or like, what can I do right now? And of course it was difficult. But I'm really grateful we were all safe. I'm really grateful I've been healthy with all the vaccines I've gotten. I'm grateful that, you know, I would say about 2 months ago, my family had COVID, and I was with them, and I kept testing negative the whole time. And the doctors were like, you know, wear a face mask around them. And I was like, that ship has sailed. We were in we were in the car together for, you know, 7+ hours. That's not God. And so I was like, if I get COVID, I have COVID. And I kept getting PCR tests, and it kept coming back negative. And I was like, I don't know what voodoo, you know, magic I have. Maybe it's my multivitamin, and I should start selling it for $19.99. But no, I'm really grateful.
So it was difficult. You transitioned. You came out the other side of it, and you ended up coming back then to DC now, right?
Yes, I bought a condo last year when interest rates were low. I became a first-time home buyer. I just happened to come across a condo in a great part of DC. It fit my chair. One of my non-negotiables, which is not surprising, is indoor pool, because it's rare, but there are some buildings that have indoor pools. And so the building that I'm in has an indoor pool with a chairlift. It's metro accessible. I'm about 2 blocks from different grocery stores. And I signed, I closed, I completely freaked out. What am I doing? This is how much a mortgage is going to be, but it is what it is. It's better than renting, right? All of that. And I just remember the day that I closed, I was not happy. It was very bittersweet because I loved my apartment in downtown, and my sister was in the condo with me at the time. How it was all original countertop, so double height, and I'm in a chair, so like the ones that are multiple heights are not going to work for me. Right. The walls were army green, a lot of like yellow lighting. I already see you're uncomfortable.
Yeah, wow. Army green walls? What the heck? What happened to that place before you had it?
No, I know. You know, previous owners left like medicine cabinets. It was just like a whole. So I spent a year, extra year, with my parents to renovate it and make it like very thoughtful, of accessible, of drawer cabinets, a lot of big storage cabinets, a really nice countertop that I'm talking to you on right now, and a lot of like storage under on the other side. Thinking about, you know, I found like a motorized wardrobe lift because of storage is so tight here in any city. Thinking of closet and closet space, I found these two type of devices that are two poles on either side, and it's a clicker, and it will come down and then just go right back up. You know, thinking about like motorized blackout shades, because my eyes don't fully close, and so when sleeping, even with wearing a eye mask, it somehow still falls off, and the slightest amount of light bothers me. You know, like smart lights, I can operate from a mobile device, things like that is, well, it's been really, really thought out. And I'm very grateful for the end product, and a great contractor too. So,
yeah, I was going to ask. That was going to be part of my question on that. How hard was it to find someone that understood what you were trying to accomplish for your living space? You know, to be properly made for you.
Right. There's a contractor that's done a lot of work in this building, and so I went off of, you know, what my realtor told me. And the first project I did right after I bought was basically gutting my bathroom, because it was a tub. You know, I wanted a roll-in shower type of situation. And what I also got was one of those, it's not a pedestal sink, but kind of like a pedestal sink, but then it has a metal bar that goes around it. So I can like place a towel down below under the sink. And then I have, you know, one of the tilted mirrors, so I can actually see all of myself, which I've never had before for the first time. And I think it's mostly because my contractor is so thoughtful, and I don't think he has had much experience with disabled people, but he's had so much experience, whether it's building houses or designs and things like that. He has sat down with me and my parents and my family as to, you know, what's best for you. And I really could have not lucked out any better than my contractor. I cannot talk enough about how great my contractor is, because my sister has awful stories about contractors where she lives. So I am very grateful. Yeah.
I've heard the same thing in our neck of the woods too, where contractors do the basic stuff, and either they don't show up, or they're lousy when they get there, or it looks nice on the outside, but the guts of it are terrible. So the fact you can find just a good contractor, period. But it sounds like you found a contractor that was a great listener, and he understood.
Great listener, really calm under pressure. Everything's cool, everything's fine. And at first I thought I would find that really annoying. Like, I would like to see you freak out. I would just like to see you say, this shit is not going great. This is messed up. Like,
right.
No, I mean, I think earlier this week they were putting in the automatic wardrobe lifts, and at one point the both of the motors on either of the walls were connecting to one clicker. And so we were like, yeah, this would crush you, Kristin. Like, if there's clothes, it will just go right in the middle of the closet and down, like, of course. And so he was in with his workers, I think for like an hour or two, and on the phone with the manufacturer.
Yeah.
My mom was like, do you think we should check in? I was like, no, he's got this. And they were here till 5:15. And the other thing about my contractor is I have had a really hard time trying to find, with my chair, I only have a certain amount of space in a bedroom. So, graduated from the twin bed situation, but a queen bed is too big. So I was like, okay, let's do a full bed. But the major issue that I have found is, unless I want a sleigh bed, there's no footboards that are high enough to hold my foot pillow, because our feet don't lift up and they're always in plantar position. I have a little pillow at the foot of my bed that I rest my feet on, because if they're not, I wake up and my ankles are in pain. And so I was like, Jorge, I have looked far and wide. I've contacted, even woodworkers in North Carolina, if they could just make a footboard, 26 inches high, stuff like that. And he's like, oh, I got a few people. They could do that for you. Not a problem. And wow. I like send the design, send what you like. And I was like, oh, I have really lucked out. But, some things are very specific. How high do I want a bar for getting in and out of the shower, to in my closet, to a little nook that I have as the type of drawers, because I can't find anything with the width and height that I would like. That would be good for me and my chair. And also thinking just really long term as to, I thinking about the closet, there's those bars, and it's like a spring tension rod that you can like pull down and then pull, and then you have to push it back up. And for any of these major decisions, my parents and family have been really helpful and great. And so they were like, you probably could do that, but you're going to have a stressful job. What if you're in a pinch? Do you want to be using your energy to push that up just to say that you can push it up?
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're right. Wow. Yeah, I'm not gonna say, there's no saying anything back to that.
No. And the way they phrased it, I mean, from that angle, from that point of view, to say, well, why waste your energy on that? Save it for the job. Save it for this. I think I'm stubborn in that way. The way I think you were alluding to, like, well, I can pull the bar down, I can push it back up, it's fine. And I think that way first, not thinking forward, like, if I keep doing that all the time, or other things that I just say, I can still do it. But then, man, by the end of the day, you're exhausted. Right. And you feel like all I do is like a bunch of basic normal stuff. Well, but if I had adaptations or change things a little bit to take some of that energy away, so I could put it into things I really need it for. Right. I personally never thought of it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing too, though, in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I do want to have some sort of nuance, as I can do it, but I don't want to lose that function. Right. There's the use it or lose it type of situation. Right. That's where I get anxious.
Yeah.
And so, right. Exactly. So that's where I was like, just because it's easier. Right. Like a few, early in March, I was trying to get a new go-go scooter through insurance. And I had to go to these physical therapists that have never met me before in North Carolina. And they barely muscle tested me. They saw me transition from my scooter to the mat table. And I said, I know you're probably going to tell me to use a power chair, but the reason why there's multiple reasons why I don't want to use a power chair. But one of them is because I've realized I use so much at the front of a scooter, whether it's like a portable bar or I use it for transferring to have something in front of me. I brace my arms so much on that to like taking on and off a shirt. I place my elbows on the front of my scooter.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, you know, they muscle test me, even though they see how I move with my chair. They're like, you need the Model 3 type of power chair that you could do everything and everything with, you know, one index finger, but it needs an accessible car. It can't be taken apart, things like that. And I left so depressed. I was crying. I was thinking to myself, like, am I weaker than I am? Like, am I? And I think that is something, especially diagnosed with MD at 9. I've always kind of seen doctors as like knowing better than how I see my own body and not knowing like where is that gray area, but very like all or nothing. And I had to have a lot of serious talks with my inner circle and my family of like, do I really need this type of chair? And I do remember asking these physical therapists, are these the only chairs you are saying for me to look at because you cover them, or is this the only ones available on the market that would be good for my function? And they couldn't really answer that. And so I did for a little bit go through, I looked at a few chairs. I did have one vendor come out and I tested out a type of chair. And I even though, you know, it says it's so much easier to move around and stuff, I couldn't transfer. I couldn't transfer to a couch. I couldn't transfer to a chair because I didn't have, you know, the front of a scooter to use my arm to help push me off like I would. And so I think about it in those ways of, is this helpful for you, or is this more limiting for you in your body? Because there are so many things subconsciously ingrained in people with FSH that, you know, have been diagnosed at such a young age. Is this more, and I also think about it in a safety way of, just because I can do this, doesn't mean, is it safe for me?
Yeah. Right.
Am I going to be stuck? And that does cause me a lot of anxiety too. Maybe because I work in security, I'd rather be a little bit more on the safer side. But you know, I am but I am very grateful to have family that I trust so much, because those types of situations are really hard to work through. Of like, you've known me for years. I don't think these physical therapists, they knew me for 5 minutes and they were just like, here you go. And I left like destructive. So I think it's also just really great to have people be like, no, you actually don't need that right now. Like you operate fine. It's what does works for you. And I think, and I hope there's medical professionals that realize that there's so much nuance, not only to our condition, but a lot of different types of disabilities. And it's not like one size fits all situation. And I just wish, and I hope that is like that for everyone in our future, because it's not fun to go through.
No. And you mentioned about the mental side of it. Yeah. You know, kind of getting upset after that. And, you know, I think we've all had those moments multiple times. I've always asked that question, challenge people, you know, how is this affecting you more, you know, the mental, the physical, and so forth. How do you deal with the mental health aspect of it, and what maybe would you recommend to people to do
Yeah.
in situations?
I remember when I was working for FSH Society I think I was doing something for people newly diagnosed. I was answering the phone. And I remember seeing, there was a lot of stuff on like going to physical therapy and things like that. But if I talked to someone on the phone, I said, you also need to go to a therapist and like a counselor. I think it's really good to work through your mental state. And I say that because I probably should have been on some sort of anti-anxiety or anti-depression medication since I was in college, and regularly see a counselor, because the being diagnosed at 9 and being told by doctors at such like a young age, this is what you'll be like when you're older, really stuck in my brain. And so it's been a very core belief and seeped into thought process and how I see the world, of very black or white or all or nothing. You use it or lose it. What am I doing today that's going to impact me in the next 5 years? And just how incredibly anxiety inducing that is. But also growing up with a type of degenerative condition, the social impacts it has on, your friends in middle school, to your friends in high school, to your friends in college. I do think that in today's day and age, it is a bit better with access to social media. I think you're able to connect a bit more with other really cool, badass disabled like models or people in wheelchairs, that you can find on Instagram and are just make you find that sense of community. So I think really the first time I felt like I belonged somewhere without saying a word, was my first disability swim meet in College Park, Maryland in 2007. It was like, wow, this is what it feels like to belong. And that's rough. So what I do say is, find something that is a great outlet. Find people that can get you. Know that there are people in your corner. So whether that's your parents or a parent-like figure or a teacher or a professor, I think there's a lot of great outlets online too, that you can have great resources to people across the country and in the world. And it's totally okay if you need to go on some sort of anti-anxiety or antidepressive type of medication. I have found it so helpful, and I do wish, I think it would have been really helpful for me to be on it when I was in college, because I'm not only able to function and have less anxiety, and I also do a whole list of other type of coping mechanisms I've learned through therapy over the years. But, I'm able to concentrate more, and you can't live a thorough and zestful life if it doesn't have the full spectrum of all the colors or all the different types of variety of things that life can really throw at you. So I say that as like a silver lining.
Yeah, it's I think it's people admitting that maybe they're defeated at it, or it's difficult when they want to ask for help or get the help or take a medication or seek it. I know, people use other outlets, journaling. I've heard people say, recently, sometimes they just need to even record their voice. So it's another form of journaling, but like it's speech. So they're thinking out loud. They hear themselves back, later, like, oh my goodness, was I in a bad place? And just kind of like hearing what their thoughts are, is another way of therapy. There's so many forms to get that kind of help, and even a non-medical, I suppose, or non-medicine type, but it's like recognizing, that this is bigger than I can handle. I need more support.
Yes.
You have family that helps, you have friends that help. But it was really key, the word that you used was belong when you described the swimming. And I remember my brother would say, you just got to find your tribe.
Yeah.
Your common tribe of people. And that word choice that I chose, tribe is something that, and my brother chose is because he said, tribe is not a family, because not everybody's family is great.
Yeah.
So if you say, well, we're family, that might not really turn a lot of people on that's proper support.
Yeah.
But a tribe is by choice. It's a commonality that you're choosing to come together in that same purpose. And I think mental health is that too. And I do find that the FSHD community is that tribe. And you gotta find your tribe.
Yeah, I think so. I forgot that you asked like 2 coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
So 2 that I have found really helpful is I will, if I'm on a computer, I will pull up Excel, or if I just don't have a computer, I use my notes app, or hell, a piece of paper. I make columns. And in the first column, I write out every single thought that's bothering me. I don't care what it is, just write it out, get it out. And then the next column, how does that make me feel on a scale of 1 to 100%? It's cognitive brain therapy. So then what's the lie? What's the cognitive distortion? And then what's something else that can counteract that thought that's a bit more realistic? I find that really helpful. As of this week, I've had a bit of on and off anxiety because it's my first week in my own place by myself without my family and dogs and everything. And so I can tell when it's bad. I have lorazepam, but I really try not to take it. But if I have to, I do. And so in these like transitional periods, I will have to take one. And so I did. And then I was like, okay, you're going to go outside. You're going to go outside and you're going to go for a walk. And the best thing for me is to not feel trapped and to just get out the door. And then, okay, now call someone. Call someone that like makes you happy. So there's a bunch of, although I joke that it's been like Schitt's Creek in North Carolina, I've been in like a retirement community. So people over like 65. And so there's some really great like firecrackers that I've met. And so I'll call them and they just had the most wittiest things to say. So get on the phone and I'll be on a walk, and I've been outside going for my little strolls, my little hot girl strolls, and I come back and I'm like, okay, that was awesome. That was great.
Yeah.
Good. There's been other times when I was writing my master's thesis where I just felt really jittery. It wasn't anxiety. It was more of like a weird anger and just very like tense. And so I have an interval app where I can just like set different times in different rhythms or things like that for doing interval sets. And so And even at some points, I mean, it works. I will do like 30 to 45 seconds of punching air as fast as I possibly can,
Okay.
and like 5 seconds rest, and do that 5 times, and then do that set like 3 times, and get my heart rate up and to the
Yeah.
point where I cannot think, and you just go.
Yeah.
And then I can concentrate, I can write again. So it works. It's crazy, but it does work. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like a reset button.
Yes. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, I got one more question for you. Well, it's more like an exercise.
Okay.
So I'm going to kind of somewhat put you on the spot, which is why I'm going to drag out the question to kind of get your mind in it here. So,
Okay.
yeah, some call it the 3 H's. Others have done it. I've seen it done where they ask you, we're going to ask you, who's your hero, hardship, and highlight? So hero.
This isn't like a celebrity, right? Like this is like
Someone that's impacted you, like your hero. So not necessarily from afar. Maybe it's been more of a closer contact or a closer connection. But
got it. A hero, hardship, and then what? What was the last one?
highlight your life so far, maybe, or
Oh
a
my
highlight.
God.
Maybe not the highlight, but maybe.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, that's like okay, so hero is my mom and dad. Hardship as a person. Wow, this is like spilling tea. Probably a former boss of some sort, in one of my jobs. And then highlight. Oof.
Is there a moment, right? Like, or maybe it's moments, but, or maybe one of those. I can't believe I'm here right now.
So I have 2 highlights that are swimming involved.
Mm-hmm.
One was when I was surfing with Ryan Levinson when I was like
Nice. Yes.
2008 or so. That was so cool. That was such a great day. Another would probably be maybe the first time I got a world ranking cut in swimming, or when I broke 2 American records in one race, and I could hear the crowd roaring and things like that. Like that was really cool. That will always stick with me. As of recent, of like I can't believe I'm here right now, I would say I mentally blacked out, I guess, when I met AOC very randomly. And in my head, I was kind of like, do I play this cool, or like, what do I do? And I was just like really thinking, and I thought she was, we're around the same age. I think she's 32, and I have so much respect for her and the work and in the environment that she does. So that was really cool to meet her. But I think there's too many great moments to just say one. And I hate that I sound like so fluffy and idealistic. But I can't place one.
But those are good ones.
Yeah, they are good ones.
There's
plenty of bad too, of course, but there's that's why I say, like, if my life was a movie, it would be like a dark comedy or like a rom-com, but I'm not really sure like if there's a love interest, but maybe in my mind, but I don't know. There's a lot of really great moments, and I think the majority of them are with my family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, touching base a little bit, giving us some good life advice in there, some great stories you shared, and transitioning your life right from DC to the great Murder Woods. No, it wasn't it. It was just
Just the deep woods. Yeah.
yeah, just the deep woods, and then back and how you're adapting your apartment and found a good contract. Just great stuff, good stories, what people need to hear,
Yeah.
and how you're able to do that. So
Yeah.
thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. You bet. So that is a great time with Kristin Duquette, and she is a great guest. And we wish her the best as we let her go. Let's take a quick break, and we'll flip back on the other side and talk about a couple things and close up shop. This is the FSHD Society Radio Show. The FSHD Radio Podcast is brought to you by Fulcrum Therapeutics. Fulcrum Therapeutics is a proud sponsor of the FSHD Radio Podcast. The team at Fulcrum is working to develop innovative therapies targeting the root causes of genetic diseases, including FSHD. As the only company with a drug in clinical stage development for FSHD, Fulcrum is proud to support programs that are helping more people learn about FSHD and the critical need for research that can lead to new treatments. For information and updates about Fulcrum, visit their website at fulcrumtx.com. You can also connect with them on LinkedIn or follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Welcome back to the FSHD Society Radio Show. Thanks for Kristin to be in on the show again. It's been a number of years since she was on, and you can find that episode 16 anywhere you find podcasts. It is still out there on Spotify, and it's just a great episode that she was on. And we talked, kind of maybe listen to that, and then maybe hear this one again to kind of see the comparisons and things. I thought it was very fascinating. The administration she worked with, and types of jobs she was in. Those watching, see my dog come in. Yes, that's my other special guest. But it's just really cool to kind of see how her life is evolving from 24 to 31. Maybe we'll check in. We want to check in every 7 years, but I think that it's a lesson for all of us that like this disease is going to do that to us. It's going to make us and force us transition and change in different equipment and different people across our paths and our lives. And I really believe that the key part of it is community. That's what stuck out with me, as well as engaging, belonging. Those seem to be the key things she kind of, clued in on us a little bit and gave us some of that great advice. Oh man, it was good stuff. It's good stuff. I love talking with her. Great energy. Adds another laundry list of amazing guests we've had on this show. Next up here, I just wanted to kind of quickly let you know that if you want to get involved with FSHD Society, always looking for people to help out in chapters and helping out in different things that are going on within the community. When we record this show, of course, I'm never quite sure when it'll land and when it'll air live to kind of promote certain things. So sometimes I just want to make sure that people are aware of what those reoccurring events are, like chapter meetings that are happening in your location. So find a chapter near you and get involved and get engaged. The wellness hour that is out there for everybody to be a part of. The FSHD University is also available. Talk about a host of amazingly different types of things. Feeling fit with FSHD, that is on there now. Early onset patient roundtables. Of course, this radio show is broadcasted with the hot off the press episode, the short version, then of course a long version where we're talking about FSHD and FSHD patients and getting to know their stories more and more. And then the care partner hour, taking family and friends, taking care of them. That we have something for them. I'm just continuing to go through the calendar here because I really want to make sure that you're aware of how to get engaged. Like Kristin said, she would be like, I need to get engaged. I need to get outside. I need to do something. I need to snap herself out of maybe of of a dark place, so to speak, and then work forward. Women on Wellness, the WOW group, that's also available out there. It has grown tremendously of what you can find for support. FSHD, the 360 conference, that's in Utah. If this is not airing, maybe you may have missed it. That was airing in October, depends on when the show is. But those special events are there for you. I guess that's my point of bringing that one up. So many great things that we want you to be a part of and get involved. And I'm always here too. And people have to really kind of take me seriously on that. There's ways to contact and connect with me to fshdsociety.org. Please do that. I want to hear your story. Do you have guest ideas? Do you have things you want us to talk about or cover? Love to hear from you. In the meanwhile, though, we're going to say goodbye to this show and look forward to the next one coming up. Who knows what the guests will be? Stay tuned. Visit FSHD Society to donate, get engaged, be part of the community. This is my tribe. You're part of my tribe, and I'm grateful to be here and bring this show to you twice a month, and all those special events we can bring your way as well. So thanks for listening and watching. We'll see you next time on the FSHD Society radio show, and this is our last thought from Perkin Elmer. Today's FSHD Society radio show podcast is brought to you by Perkin Elmer Genomics. Perkin Elmer Genomics, a global leader in genetic and genomic testing, knows that getting a diagnosis matters. That's why Perkin Elmer Genomics offers a comprehensive portfolio of test options to answer the complex medical questions that will inform care decisions and provide patients and their families with the best possible outcomes. Using the newest and most innovative technologies coupled with expert genomic interpretation, Perkin Elmer Genomics provides diagnostic solutions for a range of conditions, from broad approaches such as whole exome and whole genome sequencing for rare disorders, to target gene testing for neuromuscular disorders including FSHD type 1 and type 2 and Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. Talk to your healthcare provider about exploring the testing options available through Perkin Elmer Genomics and visit us at PerkinElmerGenomics.com. Perkin Elmer Genomics, radically rethinking genomics.